a gorilla that could communicate with humans. A gorilla whose words made scientists question everything we thought we knew about animal intelligence. Today, we'll uncover the story of a gentle giant who used sign language, adopted kittens, pondered her own mortality, and delivered a startling message about humankind. Ready to learn more? Let's dive in.
Baby.
With a sign language vocabulary of more than 1,000 words and the ability to understand thousands more.
Coco love, good.
The day she was born. In the early hours of July 4th, 1971, at the San Francisco Zoo, a baby gorilla arrived in the world. Her name, Hanabiko, meant fireworks child in Japanese, a nod to her Independence Day birth. From that moment, it seemed this newborn was destined for something remarkable. Tiny and fragile, she faced an early struggle when she fell ill and had to be separated from her mother. By the time she recovered, her mother no longer recognized her. The baby gorilla found herself alone, clinging to a small, soft toy for comfort. No one could have guessed that this vulnerable infant, soon to be called Coco, would eventually transform the way we understand animal intelligence. A chance encounter. At first, life at the zoo offered little stimulation or social bonding for Coco. But fate intervened in 1972 when a young graduate student, Francine Penny Patterson, took a keen interest in Coco's lonely existence. Penny had an ambitious plan to teach a gorilla American Sign Language in a way no one had tried before. Back then, gorillas weren't known for their intellect. Many also assumed they were too aggressive for close human interaction. Yet Penny persisted, believing that Coco might be more perceptive than anyone realized. Her plan would soon reveal a depth of communication few believed was possible. In a small enclosure, they began an experiment that would make history. The first words. Teaching Coco was no simple task. Penny tried to guide Coco's hands into sign positions, but Coco didn't like being touched. Instead, Penny had to sign repetitively and hope this curious gorilla would figure things out. And figure things out, she did. Before long, Coco began to mimic and adapt the gestures she saw. In a breakthrough moment, Coco pressed one finger to her lips, making the sign for drink. It was the first time she used sign language meaningfully. Soon, she was learning words for her favorite foods, basic emotions, and even the people around her. No longer was she just an object of study. She was a thinking, feeling participant. Moving to Stanford. As Coco's vocabulary grew, Penny relocated her from the zoo to a specially equipped trailer laboratory at Stanford University. There, Coco had a dedicated space designed for learning and comfort. She had her own room to sleep in, areas to roam and explore, and plenty of objects to interact with. The trailer did include a cage for safety, but Penny rarely used it. Instead, she found that Coco, now growing stronger, was not dangerous when treated with respect and patience. Each day brought new lessons and new words, and Coco's hunger for understanding was insatiable. She would silently watch, absorbing each sign, and then practice it back with surprising accuracy. A mind at work. Coco's rapid progress astonished observers. By age 3, she commanded around 200 signs. But she did more than name objects or demand food. She commented on what she saw in pictures or how she felt about certain activities. Sometimes, she'd spin a sign in her own creative way, even inventing new combinations when she lacked the vocabulary. This suggested a capacity for original thought, a capacity previously reserved, many believed, for humans alone. Coco's learning style was different from chimpanzees too. Rather than copying every gesture, she would adapt signs and make them hers. Occasionally, she even signed to herself, as if thinking out loud and testing her own thoughts. Humor and personality. Far from robotic memorization, Coco showed a playful side that startled scientists. She once called herself a bird and signed "Good Bird" while flapping her arms, as though she could fly. When Penny asked if she was serious, Coco signed back something akin to joke. She displayed comedic timing, pranks, and genuine laughter. Her personality was warm, mischievous, and deeply curious. Coco even toyed with the emotions of those around her, pulling Penny's hair and then flashing an apologetic sign before letting out a gorilla giggle. Each little quirk chipped away at the old myth that animals act purely on instinct. Creating new words. If Coco didn't know the sign for something, she simply invented one. She famously referred to a ring as a finger bracelet, which made perfect sense to her. A mask became an eye hat, and ice cream was cold candy. Each of these creative phrases showed an intuitive grasp of what words meant, not just blind repetition. She even coined the phrase "water bird" upon seeing a swan, deftly combining the signs for water and bird. This flexibility and imagination set her apart from other language-trained apes, who often stuck to learned signs without daring to blend them. Theory of mind. Some researchers doubted these achievements, insisting Coco might be responding to cues from Penny rather than understanding words. However, evidence to the contrary piled up. When Coco was alone, she'd sign to her toys, dolls, or her reflection in a mirror, conducting mini-conversations as though someone else was present. She'd even try to sign to other animals, confused when they didn't respond. This kind of behavior suggested theory of mind, awareness that others have thoughts and feelings. Coco recognized that humans and cats, and even her toys, might have internal lives of their own. While critics remained, these private glimpses of her signing, often caught on camera, challenged the skeptics at every turn. Her first kitten. One of Coco's most heartwarming requests came when she turned 13. She'd spent years intrigued by small pets and began signing that she wanted a kitten for her birthday. Her caregivers brought her several stray kittens, allowing her to choose one. She gently examined each furry newcomer before selecting a tiny, tailless gray kitten. Coco named him All Ball. Astoundingly tender, she would cradle All Ball like a mother gorilla holding her infant. She seemed keenly aware of her own size, moving slowly so she wouldn't hurt the little cat. Their bond became so famous that people around the world were moved by this extraordinary example of cross-species affection. Tragedy strikes. Sadly, tragedy soon fell on this unlikely family. All Ball slipped away from the facility one day and wandered into a road, where he was struck by a car. Caregivers had to convey the news to Coco using the signs she knew. At first, she seemed stunned, barely moving or reacting. Then, in a series of signs, she expressed her grief. Bad, sad, frown, cry. She even used the sign for sleep, as if trying to understand that All Ball would never wake up. Witnesses describe how Coco moaned in a deep gorilla sorrow for days. She stopped playing, lost interest in food, and truly appeared to be in mourning, leaving onlookers stunned by her emotional depth. New additions. Over time, Coco recovered from her loss, but never forgot All Ball. She continued to show an interest in caring for small creatures. Several years later, she was introduced to 2 new kittens, whom she named Smokey and Lipstick. Much like before, she nurtured them with gentle caresses, carrying them on her back and fussing over their comfort. Later, for her 44th birthday, she received another pair of kittens, which she named Ms. Black and Ms. Graytime. And again, she seemed determined to shower these tiny friends with kindness. Each kitten's story reinforced the notion that Coco had a maternal instinct and a compassionate heart, challenging the stereotypes people held about gorillas' capacity for empathy. Strange requests. Coco was not without her quirks. She sometimes made unusual requests that baffled her handlers. Her fascination with the human chest became a curious point of conversation. Through sign language, she occasionally asked to see it, and sometimes this led to misunderstandings between caretakers and staff. A few disputes even arose over how to handle these odd requests, with some employees feeling uncomfortable. However, those close to Coco viewed it as a childlike curiosity rather than an aggressive demand. It exemplified how, though brilliant, Coco was still a gorilla navigating a human-centric world. Little behaviors that seemed odd in human society were simply part of her learning process and natural inquisitiveness. Self-recognition. When Coco reached 19 years old, she passed a milestone that many gorillas fail: the mirror test. Typically, gorillas mistake their reflection for another ape and respond with aggression or avoidance. But Coco immediately recognized that she was looking at herself. She'd examine her teeth, adjust hats on her head, or even sign about her appearance. This feat, more commonly associated with chimpanzees, orangutans, and dolphins, put her in rare company. Her ability to realize "that's me" indicated advanced self-awareness. Observers watched as she sometimes made faces at her reflection for fun, or gently moved her lips and hands to see if the mirror image would respond. She seemed to relish exploring her sense of identity. Quiet evenings and story time. Outside of her more public moments, Coco led a life filled with routine and cozy evenings. She adored bedtime stories, particularly The Three Little Pigs. Whenever it was read to her, she would sign excitedly, wanting to flip the pages. She also enjoyed watching television. Her favorite show included gentle characters and friendly hosts, and she became especially enthralled by the calm demeanor of certain TV personalities. Caregivers describe how she would settle down with a blanket, kittens nearby, while a comforting story was read aloud. This peaceful domestic scene felt almost unreal, an enormous gorilla curled up, dreaming away while absorbing tales of talking animals and whimsical adventures. It was yet another peek into her rich inner world. The movies she loved. It wasn't just bedtime stories that captured Coco's imagination. She also had favorite films. One was Tea with Mussolini, which featured emotional scenes of separation. Whenever a sad moment approached, Coco would avert her gaze, seemingly unwilling to watch. Her caretakers noted that these scenes made her restless. On the lighter side, Coco was curious about dinosaurs after seeing parts of Jurassic Park. The roaring T-Rex both fascinated and frightened her. She'd sign about "dinosaurs scary," clinging to her caregiver or her favorite toy for reassurance. Meeting famous friends. Coco's fame spread worldwide, attracting curious scientists and intrigued celebrities. One of the most memorable visits came from beloved actor and comedian Robin Williams. The instant they met, Coco seemed to recognize his playful energy. She tried on his glasses, signed about his clothing, and even reached out to be tickled, a sign of trust and affection. Williams reciprocated with genuine warmth, and the two formed an instant bond. Videos of their interaction show them laughing together in a way that transcends species boundaries. Coco's joy was evident in every gesture. It was as though she felt a kinship with this famously kind-hearted performer, reminding everyone watching that humor can bridge the gap between human and animal. The loss of a friend. Years later, when Robin Williams tragically passed away in 2014, news reached Coco's caregivers. They sat with her, signing that her friend was gone. Even though Coco couldn't fully grasp the complexities of human death, she perceived the finality. According to the people present, she became subdued, moving around quietly. She signed "cry" and "sad," then withdrew to a corner. She even refused food for a short time, reflecting a grief that seemed heartbreakingly genuine. It was a moment that underscored her capacity for empathy. Anyone who witnessed her reaction couldn't deny that she experienced an emotional bond, one deep enough to leave her visibly shaken by the sudden loss of a cherished friend. Creating art and music. Surprisingly, Coco also took part in creative endeavors. She enjoyed doodling with crayons or pens, sometimes producing messy scribbles that resembled small shapes or objects. Her artwork was compared to that of a 4-year-old child. Coco showed color preferences, often choosing bright hues for certain sketches. She'd also experiment with musical toys. Handlers provided her with simple instruments, a recorder, a small flute, or a toy piano. Watching her blow air into a recorder was astounding. The question of death. Coco's most philosophical side emerged when she encountered images of skeletons or references to death. In one poignant scene, a handler showed her a model skeleton and asked if it was alive or dead. Coco signed "dead." Then, when asked where dead gorillas go, she signed something resembling "comfortable whole" before blowing a gentle kiss. It was a haunting glimpse into her understanding of mortality. On other occasions, if she saw a skull, she'd sign "gorilla," then "dead." She seemed to grasp not only that death existed, but also that it was permanent and universal. This deep reflection stunned many observers who never imagined a gorilla could grapple with such existential questions. Close to goodbyes. By 2018, Coco was nearing 47 years old, a commendable age for a gorilla. She'd developed age-related ailments, including arthritis and some respiratory challenges, but her spark never faded. Even in her later years, she continued to sign to her handlers, greet visitors gently, and express playful curiosity. She spent her days in calm activities, napping with her kittens, or quietly flipping through photo books of old memories. Her caregivers stayed vigilant, providing her with medical attention and ensuring she remained as comfortable as possible. Though her movements grew slower and her naps longer, Coco's eyes still shone with the same gentle understanding she had displayed throughout her extraordinary life. A peaceful passing. On June 19, 2018, Coco passed away in her sleep at the Gorilla Foundation in California. It was a quiet, uneventful night. The staff who had loved and cared for her gathered in sorrow, reflecting on the decades spent by her side. They described her final evening as peaceful. She enjoyed her usual routine and dozed off without showing any distress. In the morning, they found that she had slipped away, leaving a profound emptiness. News of her death spread fast, touching millions who felt they knew her through photos, videos, and stories. The world mourned a remarkable being who had bridged a gap between species, proving that empathy, intelligence, and curiosity aren't exclusive to humans. The legacy she left. Coco's influence on science and public perception was immense. She challenged the long-standing assumption that animals, especially gorillas, were incapable of complex thought or emotions. Over time, her demonstrations of self-awareness, creativity, and sorrow forced many to reevaluate their stance on animal intelligence. Linguists, psychologists, and biologists continue to study the data collected during Coco's lifetime, debating what her abilities mean for evolutionary science. But for the general public, she became a symbol of empathy, a gentle teacher who showed that communication can transcend physical differences. Her face on the cover of National Geographic, cradling a kitten, remains one of the most iconic images ever published, forever altering the narrative of what gorillas are capable of. The shocking statement. Among Coco's final and most widely publicized communications was a direct appeal to humanity. She signed words that, when translated, carried a plea. Humans needed to change their ways. Phrases like "man stupid" and "fix Earth" caught worldwide attention. For many, it felt like a prophecy, an animal's lament over environmental neglect. Critics questioned how much she really understood, but her message resonated. Could it be that a gorilla, who'd seen how humans destroyed forests and polluted habitats, had something urgent to say? Whether meticulously coached or spontaneously expressed, Coco's statement was undeniably provocative. It forced a conversation. If a gorilla can care about the planet, why are we, the most intelligent species, so slow to protect it? Hearing her voice today, even now, years after her passing, Coco's memory lives on in documentaries and academic papers. Her recorded signs and the data from Penny Patterson's research continue to spark debate on the nature of animal consciousness. Some remain skeptical, insisting that apes simply mimic. Others see in Coco a revolutionary leap in animal language studies. But perhaps more important than the science is the emotional resonance of her story. Millions of people who watched her sign "I love you" or cradle a kitten realized, maybe for the first time, that animals have rich inner lives. In that epiphany lies the power of her legacy. She remains a gentle reminder that empathy can exist beyond the boundaries of species. Her everlasting impact. Today, Coco's name stands for more than a single gorilla's life story. It symbolizes a broader understanding that every creature on this planet has some claim to intelligence, emotion, and empathy. Whether we interpret her signs as proof of deep intellect or partial mimicry, we can't ignore the profound influence she had on how we view animals. Conservation efforts, especially regarding gorillas, gained a powerful spokesperson in Coco. And though she spoke through signs, her words carried immeasurable weight. She showed us that curiosity, compassion, and humor aren't exclusively human traits. They can dwell in the heart of a gentle giant who, against all odds, found a way to speak to us, if only we chose to listen. Coco's journey reminds us just how much our world can change when we open our minds to the voices of other species. May her story inspire us to seek understanding and compassion. Thanks for watching.